Hi everyone, and welcome along to In Body, In Mind. Today with me I have Angela Freychet, who is a certified hypnotherapist and trained practitioner of the Simpson Protocol. Now she's going to tell us what that's all about, because I don't know what it's all about. But first of all, how about telling us a little bit about yourself, Angela?
Sure. Well, I grew up in rural Western Australia, a tiny little town called Kojonup.
Oh, wow.
And I had the great fortune of living on a farm. So I grew up with a lot of animals and in nature, and I had my, pretty much 6 years on the farm there. Excuse me. From there, I was a very curious girl and wanted to know about the world. So I did the uni thing. I studied a BA in education, and then I took off to Japan. I just had this thing.
Why Japan? I mean, of all places, why Japan?
I know. I met a gentleman through a friend of mine who was just a fascinating man. He was a businessman, a friend of my friend who was a lawyer, and he decided to come to Australia for business and was curious in himself. He was very childlike and very joyful. And I thought, wow, this man's very fascinating. And he gave me his card and he said, look, if you ever come to Japan, you're most welcome to come and visit me. I live in Fukushima. Not Fukushima, Fukuoka. And I said, okay, right, well, I can come to visit you sometime. But I didn't really take it seriously, but I guess I was ruminating about it. And then everything Japanese started to really come to the fore, and I thought, maybe that is a possibility that I could go and visit him. And
How old were you this time?
at that stage I was 19.
Oh, wow. Okay, very young.
Yeah. Yes. And I thought, right, well, okay, maybe that's a possibility. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I was doing my BA in education, and I knew I didn't want to go into a school situation because I thought, oh my goodness, I feel like a kid myself. And so I ended up just working for a few years while I was doing the rest of my BA and finishing. And I ended up going to Japan when I was 21.
Right.
And it seemed like all the universe seemed to conspire for that to happen. And the money immediately appeared, and off I went and spent 2 years there. Yeah.
So when you arrived in Japan, what happened? I mean, how did you spend 2 years there? That's a long time.
I know. I'd only really thought I was going to be there 3 months or 6 months at the most. But as soon as I stepped into, I firstly went to Tokyo because I thought, I did have a friend down in Osaka who was working. She was working in a hostess bar. She was also an English teacher. And she said, come on down to Osaka. What are you doing in Tokyo? And I thought about it and I just jumped on the bullet train and came down. And she said, you can just live here because the owners of the bar said that you can have the place for free if you want to work in the bar. Now, I'd heard about hostesses and I was a little bit like, okay. But it was a group of Australian girls, and we just were lighting people's cigarettes and pouring drinks and making conversation and singing karaoke. And actually...
Karaoke in English or Japanese?
In English.
Okay.
So it was quite odd and weird sensation of being in Japan and in this environment, but I had some lovely girlfriends that I met through that. And yeah, I remember lots of amazing experiences with different people coming into the bar, and once there was a Yakuza that walked into the bar.
What's a Yakuza?
It's like a mafia.
Oh, really?
Yes, and that was the first time I had my drink spiked. So actually, yeah, I had a bit of an experience there. But anyway, the owner of the bar was a Japanese man, and he was married to an Australian woman. And so they very much took care of us. And there was no, you know, people would come in and ask the question whether you gave your sexual services, and we're like, no, you can go a couple of blocks down the road and probably find that. Because we were really...
Still very confronting, isn't it? I mean, a bit traumatic in a sense.
Yeah.
Because you don't know whether you're safe.
Exactly. And that happened when I left my drink unattended. So I learnt my lesson very, very quickly. Yeah. But I was taken care of. My boss put me in a cab. She took me home. She put me to bed because I was lights out. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my... I mean, I started in the bar, but I was also teaching English. I was teaching to little kids at the beginning. And traveling all over Osaka, in fact, into Kobe and some of the other regional places in a day, which was exhausting. Plus I was going to the bar at 8 o'clock at night and, you know, go through to 2, and sometimes, you know, you go out with friends afterwards.
Yeah. It wasn't expensive to live there?
No, well, I wasn't having my rent was paid. Yeah. And all the utilities in this apartment.
Oh, good.
I lived there with 3 other girls, Australian girls. Yeah. And of course the dollar to the yen was incredibly, you know, or the yen to the dollar was incredibly high. Yeah, okay. And so it was what we called our time of topping up the gas tank, because it was, you know, very good money. So I was doing that, and then I couldn't do the job anymore with the little kids going all over Osaka. It was too much. Yeah. So I decided to quit, and I had another friend who had another bar that she owned, and they call the boss the mama son. Yeah. And so I worked with her. It was just a lot of fun, but it was a lot of drinking back then. Yeah. And
I think we all did that back then.
And I realized that my body just couldn't handle it. So I used to just drink, you know, lemon lime sodas and things
after
like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was a bit of a hedonistic time living there. Loved the culture. Actually had a very interesting spiritual experience the day I arrived in Osaka. Yeah. And I got out of the taxi, went in to meet my girlfriend. She said, look, I've got to go off to work and you can explore the area. She gave me a little mud map where to go, and there was this very long arcade of shops. And she said, just wander and find your way around. So that's what I did. And I was walking down this arcade, and it's, you know, like you could imagine a very narrow street, but covered in. Yeah. And all of a sudden there was a big mon, and the mon is the entry or the gateway to a shrine. Right. And I was just stopped in my tracks, and I had, you know, this rush of energy come over me, and I thought, whoa, I'm going to go and check that out. So in I toddled. It was a very grey day. There was lots of, you know, it was just grey stones on the ground, but this Shinto shrine or temple. And the temple, there was no one there except a woman sweeping in the corner, and lots of pigeons on the ground everywhere. And I just had this very, very strong feeling of deja vu. And I thought, okay, this is significant. You know, either I've been here before, but it was so strong. And it was quite beautiful with big, big trees all around, and there was a building.
It sounds amazing.
It was amazing, yeah. Basically, there was a little plaque there, and I was reading the plaque, and it said this Shinto shrine. So the Shinto, basically, I don't know if you know about that, they're animists. So they believe that everything has God or the God nature in it, from stones to, you know, the air, the breeze, everything.
Yeah, okay, well, I think it has.
But that was what I was reading on the plaque. Excuse me.
And at that time, that would have been you would have been very curious.
I was incredibly curious. It was probably, I mean, I'd kind of come on a little bit of a journey before that, but it was really that realization that this is deep and ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
And and so anyway, I was reading the plaque and it said 15, built in 1516 or something to that effect. And I just again had this overwhelming deja vu, and all of a sudden these pigeons flew up and they landed on me. And I had pigeons all along my arms, along my shoulders, on my head. And I'm just thinking, please don't shit on me.
As you would.
As I would.
Yeah, I would too.
But then it was like, what the heck is going on here?
Wow, that's powerful, isn't it?
It was really powerful. And then I went, woof, and they all flew up and then went about their business. But the woman who was sweeping, she was just going in Japanese, which of course I had no clue. And she was just, and anyway, I heard down the track from other, because most Japanese people are still very steeped in that understanding and wisdom.
Yeah.
And they said, that was your welcome. You'd arrived. It was your first day there and you had arrived. But it wasn't just that, because months later, I moved from that apartment to another apartment around the corner. Mm. And it was the most amazing apartment. It was like something you'd probably find in New York.
Wow.
You know. And I was looking out down the window of the floor that I was sleeping on, and I realized I was looking straight back down into that Shinto.
Same place.
Yeah. So I knew there was something very significant.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. So, but I realized Japan as beautiful, and, you know, it was hectic. And a little country girl was just like, after a while, getting a bit frazzled.
And it would have been so busy. I mean,
That's
just
right. Was a lot.
Pretty brave thing to do, really, to move from little country town to Japan.
That's right.
So 2 years there, what happened after that?
Well, I came back and I actually lived with friends, and I was in limbo. I was having just these weird, you know, reverse culture shock.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, even though 2 years doesn't sound like a long time, you're enmeshed in a culture.
Well, it's a consciousness as well, isn't it? It's
exactly
completely,
so.
Yeah.
And so I ended up coming back to Perth, did a few things, and was just had itchy feet, and was like, I didn't really know what I wanted. I had the BA, you know, behind me, but I went and taught music. It was called pre-instrumentation class for children. And it was, and the reason I got the job was because I was going to learn guitar. I had to do something with myself, and it seemed like I needed to channel my energy somehow. And so I went to a music school and met the teacher there, and he said to me, "You've got to be an education. Why don't you come and teach kids pre-instrumentation?" I said, "I'm just learning guitar. Like,
yeah.
I don't know anything else about any other instrument." And he said, "No, but you've got good rhythm, and and I think you would, you know, take on board whatever you were taught." And I thought, well, I'll give it a crack. And that's pretty much me. I'll give it a crack and see how it goes.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I was in a room with no windows. It was a soundproof room. Mm-hmm. And the good part about that is that I had one-on-one with little kids.
Oh, right.
From the age of 2.
Yeah.
Right up to about 10-year-olds. And I had some of the most rewarding experiences in there. One particular little guy had quite severe learning difficulties, and he wore very thick glasses. He had a hard time at school. Yeah. But he so gravitated towards the drums. Mm. And of course, you know, my teacher had taught me just a basic do, you know, so that's all I taught. I can't say I know anything else, and I've probably forgotten it now. But that's what I taught this little boy. And because it was using right and left brain simultaneously, right and left sides of the body, all of a sudden, please excuse me, all of a sudden, this little boy came alive.
Mm-hmm.
It was like doing his.
That's what he needed.
It's exactly what he needed. So it was very rewarding.
Wow.
But that was very temporary. Again, I had these itchy feet. And meanwhile, while I was all the time, I'd picked up a book. In fact, I don't know if you remember the car boot day sales that used to be in Karrinyup in the car parks.
I do actually.
I was walking around and this book just called to me, and it was an Iyengar, Mira and Metta. I can't remember their surname, but they were brother and sister, and it was the most beautifully illustrated, very highly detailed Iyengar postures, the asanas. It did go through pranayama and other, kriyas, but I was holed up in my room just wanting to learn this, and every day I was just doing the practice.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, and I was having these experiences.
Of course. You would be.
Exactly. It was just like everything started to open. And then I became obsessed with India. It was just like, okay, right, this is fascinating. I want to learn more.
Yeah.
And at the time I was with a guy, and he and I decided that we were going to take our backpacks and off we went to India. And so we traveled around India for about 6 months. And in that time went to Rishikesh, which has another significance later on in my history. But I met a beautiful, beautiful teacher who was teaching basic hatha, but he was just of the light. He was a beautiful being. And I did all the practices with him. There was a big class, obviously, of foreigners, mainly foreigners.
Well, how old were you at that stage?
I was 26.
All right, yeah,
Or
that's
25.
Yeah,
25 I was, yeah. So we spent probably 2 months with him, and it was very intense, and he could see we were very focused and we wanted to learn more. So he gave a lot of his time for us.
Oh, that's great.
Which was wonderful. I had another amazing experience for the first time doing neti, where I felt my third eye open, and I was just like, oh, I can see. It was like the light came in. Yeah. So these beautiful practices.
So did you end up actually becoming a teacher?
Not with him.
No, okay.
No, as much as he told me, right, you're ready to teach, go. And I'm like, hello, I've been here 2 months. He says, no, you're ready to teach. You learn by teaching.
Yeah.
I was like, and I didn't at all feel like I was ready.
Yeah.
But then we went down to the south of India, and that's when I went to Vivekananda's ashram.
Right.
And that was, again, a very beautiful experience. I had another very good teacher, very young.
Yeah.
But very good, very, he was on the
There has to be discipline, and there has to be directness, doesn't it?
Correct.
If you haven't got that, you can't beat around the bush and
Exactly.
give it half-heartedly. It's got to be either do this or forget about it.
Or forget about it, correct, that's right. So one of the most beautiful lessons learnt in that ashram was from the teacher who, he used to give these classes to the public every morning. And at 6 o'clock, they carried in a fellow who had polio. And they just set him down, lay him down on his mat on the floor. And he went up to him and must have whispered something to him. And I was just like, wow, what's going on here? This man was not able-bodied at all. He couldn't move, actually. And we did the session, the yoga session, and then at the end, they lifted up and carried him out. And I was very curious, and I went and asked the teacher, can I just ask, what did you say to that fellow? And he said, I told him that your mind is not in the body, your body is in the mind. And then it was like, okay, got
So
it.
he basically did the practices with his mind.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a very, it's a truth.
It is the truth. Yeah. We know it, don't we? Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, that was a big epiphany for me, because I just thought, yoga is all about asanas and postures and how strong or flexible you could be. And there's a lot of ego that goes along with that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because sometimes it's just that one line that's so profound that opens so many doors
That's
in
right.
your mind.
Yes.
And you think about it so in depth and so deeply that it just changes everything about you, because you go, it's like the aha moment, isn't it, really? It's an aha moment. Yeah.
Exactly.
So how long were you in India for altogether?
Well, I came back and forth, but
Oh, really?
yes. So we were there for the first 6 months, but like I said, it was 2 months in the north, and then I spent pretty much the rest of the time in the south of India, in Bangalore. And yeah, that was really incredibly profound. Then I left to come back to Australia, and I met my teacher in 1996, my spiritual teacher, Shantimai.
Yeah.
And here
And you meet her in Australia? Or,
yes, I met her in
Australia.
Perth,
Wow,
yes,
okay.
in Shenton Park. So she's an American lady who, her story had gone that she'd gone to India, been compelled to go, met a teacher there, but it was like, yeah, you can see she said there was a lot going on with him, but she knew it wasn't the right match. And then she heard about this other saint who was in Rishikesh.
Right.
And she was told to go and visit him. And when she walked into the ashram, he said, "I've waited all my life for you." And she knew that she wanted to emulate and be just like him. That's what she said. "I want to be just like you."
Wow.
Because he's very bright, very, yeah.
So who was her teacher?
We called him Hansraj Maharaji or Maharaji.
Yeah. So many Maharajis.
I know. The Maha.
Yeah.
The great king.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was a very slip of a man, like waif, like beautiful, almost ethereal man, but
so you've gone into the body, right?
yes.
But you know that the mind is what actually is in charge of the body.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Into now the philosophy, right? Because
That's
she
right.
would have been all about philosophy, all about
Absolutely.
life, which to me is just, there should be more people like that in the world.
Yes.
To really wake a lot of people up.
Exactly.
Because we're living in this illusion of what we think life is.
That's right. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
from all that, you've gone
Yeah.
into studying hypnotherapy after that, or where did you, from there you went into why hypnotherapy?
I know. Well, basically, cut a long story short, I came back to Australia. I married a Frenchman, thus my name.
Did you meet him in France or in India? Or?
There's a few years gap between.
Okay, all right.
But I came back to Perth basically with all that newfound wisdom of yoga. Started to teach yoga. Yeah. Started to teach very.
You would have been in such a flow by this time.
Yes, I was, but I was also doubting myself.
Like most people do, yeah, go on. Of course
had
we
the
do.
old programs running of lack of self-worth, self-love, all of that stuff. And so I came back to Perth and started teaching, met another group of yogis who introduced another modality into my practice called Feldenkrais.
Right.
And that's how we married the yoga and the Feldenkrais together. And we used to have lots of epiphanies about the body, because I had the great fortune to have a teacher who was also very versed in NLP.
Yeah.
And so that teacher began to teach the trance within the yogic postures, within the flow. And so you're invited into trance. You don't have to think. And that's the thing oftentimes that would be the feedback from some of my students, was that, wow, I was just really with everything, very present. And that's the point. You don't have to think. You give over that authority to teacher who can guide you. And if you follow and you move into that group trance, you know what rapport's like. You move into that group trance and then you're just one entity, one organism moving together. And that's often the trance.
So Feldenkrais is actually like that on its own, or was this just a modality which was combining both, and it wasn't really just Feldenkrais?
Yeah, it's not just Feldenkrais, but I can certainly see the benefit of Feldenkrais doing that, because what I know from Feldenkrais is it really taps into that all the primal reflexes as a baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're being held.
As a human being.
Correct.
Yeah.
Your initial imprint as you come in as a baby. Yeah.
Which is what gets changed as we grow up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So surrender, it's like surrendering on the mat and being so present with breath and body that you begin to move in, just in harmony, and you're invited all the time into your body and invited how to breathe. Oftentimes, I know I love Kundalini yoga for that reason, is, you're told how to breathe. Whereas a lot of other practices, they just say breathe.
Yeah, breathe.
Breathe
breathe
in,
breathe out.
For a person who has no awareness, and oftentimes the breath is very blocked for a person, and there's a lot of tension.
Yeah.
And so during the poses and the postures, you're invited to take your awareness always back to your breath. And how are you breathing right now? Oh, and this pose can allow your breath to stop if you're not present. So be present, access your body through your breath, all those things which...
Well, the breath is, I would say, one of the, up top of the list as being the most important thing, really.
Absolutely.
Because of the autonomic nervous system,
That's right.
To really, most people today are working from the parasympathetic nervous system, which is fight flight, which
That's
is,
right.
We're breathing shallow, we're ready for someone to attack us.
That's
or
right.
not having enough money.
That's
or
right.
whatever it is. But there's no lion or a tiger out there. We're worried about the smallest little thing now.
Correct.
So we're not breathing properly, and that creates... internally, that creates disease or dis-ease, you know what I mean? It does.
Yeah.
You'll find that most people that have got some sort of issue, and they're all different issues they have, I found that some of them, it's what they tell themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Because your Bruce Lipton would say that your brain is like a government that's controlling all trillions of cells.
That's right.
And if your brain's telling your armies down there, in there that you're not good enough, then the cells are going to feel that. You're going to actually create that in your body.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you did ask me about how do I get onto hypnotherapy. Well, that's really...
well, that's important.
Yes.
I'm feeling that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, again, I was teaching yoga. Then I met my French husband. We lived in Perth for about 10 years together. And then, of course, he was in oil and gas, very different...
corporate.
different side of the coin to me. But, somehow we connected, and we had one little boy here in Perth, who's now my big boy now, 21-year-old. Then we went to live in Melbourne. So we lived there for 5 years. I had my other boy, Zavi. My eldest is Matteo. And then after 5 years... my then husband had a call to... He'd already lived in Norway.
Yeah.
He spoke fluent Norwegian.
Wow.
And, being in France, I guess, and he learned German. So he had a Germanic kind of background in language anyhow. And that's really the root of Norwegian language, is Germanic. And so we went to live in Norway. Took my little boys with me, 42-degree heat, left Melbourne, lived in Norway, and we arrived, and they'd had incredible snow, like meters of snow from, I think it'd been snowing since October the previous year, and we arrived in the April. And it was just like, where are we? It was such a contrast.
Oh, it would have been.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm so, so very grateful. And it set up another new adventure of, you know, discovering this amazing landscape, the culture. I met beautiful, beautiful people, a lot of expats as well, a lot of beautiful Norwegian people. And then I thought, right, I'm going to go and teach yoga. So I contacted a lady who already had a studio in the middle of town. She was an Iyengar teacher, loved her, beautiful human. And she said, well, come and do a trial class and we'll see how you go. So I gave this class, and then she was like, right, when can you start?
Oh, great.
And I said, well, whenever. Whatever your schedule is, I'm available. I have kids, and, you know, they're very, very sympathetic to anyone with children there, and, you know, they'll work in and around that because they're very sensible culture. And so, yeah, I started teaching
Yoga in Norway.
Yoga in Norway, and I was teaching Feldenkrais and Hatha, and she didn't mind, even though she was very much by the book, Iyengar teacher.
Yeah, and you'd mix two things together.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I started with her, and then I was with her for probably about 3 years, and classes were packed, this tiny little room on about the 4th floor of this building. It was a fantastic way to put my foot down. But then I wanted my own class, and I was looking around for a venue, and I found a venue. Was invited in by a physio who was renovating this room, and it just worked out, and I went into partnership with a Norwegian girl.
Right.
That was the moment, during one of my classes in that, when I had my own business, that I had this epiphany. So I'd been teaching, I thought was a magnificent class. Done a really beautiful yoga nidra. And then a woman sat up at the end and she said, I can't stop my mind. And I was like, what else does one have to do to stop the mind? Or at least not to focus on the mind. Yeah. And, you know, I'd been doing my breath and meditation and everything else in between. And I thought, what else can I do? And during the hours when I wasn't teaching, I would often listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a radio program in America, and this hypnotherapist came on. And I was fascinated by what she had to say. She was doing past life regression therapy. And I was like, I've got to contact this lady. She lived in California. Turns out she was Romanian. She had been teaching, she'd started off as a dentist in Romania, and part of her training, because some people have allergic reactions to anesthesia, she had learnt hypnosis to guide a person into a state of anesthesia in order to then perform whatever she had to do. And she was so fascinated by this, you know, subconscious science that was so the antithesis of what she's learning in dentistry, that she took off in that direction.
Yeah, wow.
And so I was training with her in California over Zoom. Yeah. Oh, I don't think it was Zoom back then. I think
it would have been just
FaceTime or
it would have been
Messenger.
Skype.
Yeah, Skype. That's what it
Skype.
was. It was Skype. Yes, you're right. And so I was taking her into hypnosis, me in Bergen, Norway, her in San Diego in California. And I was just fascinated by this, how we could affect change, literally being in total different geographical locations, but also having these profound experiences. And of course, you have to you're being taken into hypnosis often.
Yourself, while you're on Skype.
On Skype. So I'm lying down in my chair, somebody else is taking me in, I'm recounting what I
Wow.
experienced, and it was just wild. It was a wild, wild ride, and it was wonderful because I learned so many deeper aspects of myself. And whether you see those experiences as a powerful metaphor of the mind, or, you know, as many of the leading hypnotherapists and past life regression therapists say, if you have an ab reaction, that is, if you connect to an emotion,
Yeah.
you cannot invent those reactions. They know from, you know, it's not like a psychosis.
Right.
You actually have to have some imprint. As a psychiatrist, I think what's the beautiful, I can't even think of his name now, but one of the most beautiful leading in past life regression therapy, he was working in a psychiatric hospital when he had an experience with a patient who came in who couldn't swallow, and he decided, well, I can't administer drugs.
No.
I have to do something. And all of his colleagues had pushed her in his direction, and he'd taken her into hypnosis, and then had said, you know, what was, because she had this gagging reflex, and he'd taken her into hypnosis just to say, you know, okay, we regress her to a childhood and we'll see what happens. Well, she regresses back to a time in Egypt, and he's going, what the hell's going on here? And he's saying, well, you know, just went along with it. And he said, well, what's happening? She said, I'm drowning in a flood, and my baby's being ripped out of my arms. And he said, okay, and, you know, where are you? I'm in Egypt. I'm a woman. I'm this old woman. And he's thinking, okay, this has to be invented. But because she has this ab reaction, she's crying, people can't invent those reactions.
Couldn't invent that.
No. And he was just absolutely gobsmacked by it. But then what happened when she comes out of hypnosis, she starts to get better. She can swallow. She picks up the glass and drinks. And he's like, well, there's something to this very profound thing.
So because he took her back there,
To revisit it.
she actually overcame that.
Yes. Yes.
Because she witnessed it.
Yes. And I think it was also, it's the follow-up afterwards, like any therapist. Well, can you release that? Can you let it go? And is there anything to forgive around this? And, you know, that's the part of the therapy.
Wow, okay.
You know, and
that's fantastic.
I
That's
know.
amazing.
He was very, very adept. Even though he had no clue what was going on, he was able to identify, well, okay, well, let's make the most of this situation. So that was how he started. And I read a lot of his books, and I really wish my mind would remember that. It'll
come back, yes. I know that.
Yes.
I get that a lot. But, you know, we had a workshop with Boris Walter, and he told me some of those stories.
Yes.
Like, you know, where, you know, this tradie comes in covered in tats and not really open to the whole thing, and starts talking in a completely different language.
Ancient Aramaic or something.
Something, that was something really ancient, and he met a guy who was a linguist.
Yes.
And said, can you check out and see if this is a real language?
Yes,
and
it
was. And of course, I've heard of these things before. I've always been curious, because I know there's a lot more to us than what meets the eye, like yourself. And I think it's important that you are open to any sort of aspect that's out there, because I feel some people need this, some people need that. So, you know,
that's right.
You need to really discover for yourself what is good for you.
That's right. What resonates. Yeah.
So is that what you basically, because Angela's now moved to Quarramup, so she's not far down the road, people.
Yes.
Do you basically work in hypnotherapy now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I still, every Tuesday and Thursday morning, I have people who tap in and do yoga and Feldenkrais with me.
Oh, good. Where do you do that? At your place?
Yeah, just over Zoom.
Over Zoom,
yeah,
okay.
so I just flick a link and then
Well,
you
that's
can
handy
join
too,
in if
isn't
you
it?
want to.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that kind of a feel.
Yeah.
Very informal at the moment.
Well, it's good that you're keeping active in all those modalities,
Yeah.
because I personally found that the different things that I've actually, researched or actually experienced myself makes you today all-rounded in lots of different ways.
Yes,
Because
correct.
it's your experience. I think your lived experience is what makes you.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that because you've had much more lived experience than a 20-year-old, the amount of things that you've done, I say to people all the time when they're saying, oh, I'm so sick of doing this, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going, no, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get to my age and you've done these things, then you have the wisdom, then you can let that out, then you can share.
That's exactly right.
It's important.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to, like I said before, to wake people up.
Absolutely. And I know that's always been my purpose.
Yeah.
And to discover or uncover different aspects of our being, our latent potentiality and possibility. And so the past life regression therapy that I've done was absolutely beautiful. It served a purpose. But I realized that it's what in hypnotherapists call regression to cause. So you're always, as a hypnotherapist, trying to nut out why and getting to the root cause by asking,
The questions.
the questions. So it's really the onus is on the hypnotherapist, right? I came back to Perth and then had another great teacher walk into my life. It seems like these beings, I find them or they find me.
They say when the student's ready, the master appears.
Yeah. So I have, and I still have a beautiful relationship with this lady. Her name is Ines Simpson. She lives on Vancouver Island.
So this is
Canada.
the Simpson Protocol, right? All right. Well, I've never heard of that.
No.
Share.
Okay. So her history, just giving you a little bit of background on why and how this came about. She was also doing regression to cause therapy. So it's again that nutting out, trying to find ways and means. And she was very curious and wanted to find these ways of really getting to the cause, but having it more client-led. So letting the client do the leading rather than us making a judgment about what you need, right?
Yeah, because you don't know.
Exactly. And so she actually was doing already hypnotherapy, but she came upon a fellow. Well, she'd always been friendly with this fellow who was an Indigenous Canadian American, and he was living on Vancouver Island. And he tells the story of him working as a janitor. And all of a sudden he hears the sounds of the whales, and he is compelled to go down to the water and start to call the whales. And this is quite fascinating because all this he gets downloads, a lot of wisdom comes through him. And he starts to talk about this in the way that he awakened. That was his awakening. Well, Inez was very good friends with him, and together they formulated a protocol of questions based on ancestral wounding, based on all facets of a human being, metaphysical as well as physical, everything, and everything in between. And they formulated these protocol of questions to ask a person while in trance, in hypnosis, and to respond with idiomotor responses. So fingers doing the talking.
That's different.
Sometimes the voice comes on board, but the bonus of doing it with the fingers means you bypass the conscious mind. And that's always...
So what do you mean with the fingers?
Well, are you familiar with kinesiology?
A little bit, yeah.
So you know that they will do muscle testing.
Whether it's yes or no.
Yes or no,
thing,
all of that. So as, in the subconscious field, we understand the connection between body mind. Again, it comes back to that beautiful teacher saying the mind is not in the body is in the mind.
That's right.
And so we pose these questions to the body, and we bypass the conscious mind, which is our conscious mind you've seen represented in that, the iceberg. It's only the tip. And conscious mind is there to keep us safe, analyze, criticize. It's that role.
Yeah.
But it's
all about safety.
Yes, and it's got about this much to do with this much expansion of self or beyond.
That's right. Yeah. The unlimited version.
The unconscious, connected, and subconscious. So subconscious is part of that, in that we live in these feedback devices, and this is part of the body mind where our consciousness is held. And as we know through trauma, we know to work with body in order to release that. Well, they decided to use these protocol of questions to ask the body mind, and then to get the responses, we set up a no and a yes finger. And in that way, it seems to be a much more honest
that's
and
great.
authentic way of responding.
Wow.
And so the protocol of questions are related to all facets of a person. We like to think that there's no stone left unturned, that those questions, regardless of your belief system, we pose them. Because I have a lot of really straight down the line people come to me and they're like, I say, look, from time to time I ask what would maybe be considered esoteric questioning.
Or spiritual.
I know. But your body mind's going to respond anyway, and doesn't matter. Just go with the flow. Go with the fingers. This is given something to do.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like writing,
which actually stops the thoughts from coming in. If you're concentrating on a question, you've got to lift a finger.
Exactly. There's no effort.
Otherwise, if you would just ask the question, your brain kicks in and the thoughts come in and then you answer, right?
That's exactly right.
So that's a smart way of
That's
dealing
right.
with it.
And it's very automatic. You can usually tell if a person's doing this with a finger, there's much more interference.
Yes, yeah. But if they're shooting straight up, it's like, this is a good answer.
Yeah, it's very fascinating.
So are you actually seeing people for hypnotherapy as well?
Yes, I am.
So how do people actually get in touch with you then if they want to book a session, or if they want, or the Zoom class? Have you got a website?
Yes,
you do.
I do have a website. It's just my name, angelafreychet.com.
Yeah, okay.
And you can book through that. Otherwise, I from time to time, just at the moment, because I've only just newly moved down here since the beginning of the year.
You don't want to get too inundated.
Well, I've just put a few posts up on Facebook in the Coarum Up and Margaret River kind of posts. So,
And then you've got on the 25th of October, Angela's doing a 2-hour workshop at the Yelling Up Hall, where you can book that with Angela as well. Now, what's that workshop about?
Well, it's more, I'm calling it hypnosomatic work. So in order to top up the tank of your foundation, the foundation we call self-love, self-worth, self-acceptance, self-confidence, all those self things. In order to top them up, I believe it's a really nice way, firstly, to relieve and release the body-mind by doing something physical. And those physical movements I will incorporate before our...
And can anybody do these movements, or is it like... Is it all standing, or is it sitting cross-legged, or
it's
you sit on a chair,
or you could sit on a chair?
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
And then Angela's also giving a talk on the 26th of October, which is the Yelling Up Wellness Expo. So you can catch her there for a talk. The program will be online at the yellingupwellness.com.au website. So we look forward to seeing you there. I might go and check this out myself now that we've had this discussion.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
So thanks a lot for coming along
Thanks a
today
lot.
for this little chat.
Yeah.
Great chat.
Yeah.
Really interesting, and looking forward to seeing more of you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
So much. Thanks.